got this old t-shirt here that I quite like, but no matter how many times I sew up this hole in the back, it keeps on coming undone. So I thought rather than chucking it away, well, you've seen the thumbnail, you know what I'm going to do with it. I've got some ingredients, I've got some tools. Let's get to it. I think the first step is probably just cutting this out roughly square. Okay, I think that'll do it. They're both roughly oblong. It doesn't need to be quite exact. I didn't bother cutting it out against a straight edge. It's not going to affect the final product too much, I don't think. We've got a front and a back here. I guess that's the nature of having three-dimensional objects in a three-dimensional reality, is there's two sides to it. I think we're going to start with the back, because if I mess this one up, I'm not going to be as bothered. This will be a good practice piece. Let's have a look at what we're doing next. So I've got just some old canes here, some old gardening canes for plant support that are no longer required, and we're going to make a frame out of them. I want the frame to be slightly oversized so that the fabric can stretch onto it, but I think if we have a look at our dimensions, these ones here probably make a good bit for the crossbars, and these quite long ones, so they're going to need to be trimmed down a little bit. I don't want it to stretch quite that much. Will be good for the sides. Let's get these cut out and ready. No need to faff around with a saw. Nice pair of side cutters. That was a squeaky one. Ping. Okay, you will have seen me there just trimming down the piece again a little bit. I think I cut the crossbars a little bit too short. I didn't leave myself quite enough room to stretch them out. So I think with that last trim, cutting off some of the scrappy bits, that looks about right to me. Okay, so the plan is to punch holes all the way around the edge here, and then tie it to the frame with this string. Obviously we've not actually assembled the frame yet. I am wondering if all of this could just be done with one piece of string that runs in and out, back and forth along the frame, and then that same piece of string loops around and around to tie off the corner, and then continues its journey around the rest, tying off that corner, and then all the way around. But I think for the first one I am going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to put just a small amount of tape on there just to hold it together while I'm working with it, and then I think I'll reinforce the corners with 4 separate pieces of string before we start. Well, there you go, there's the frame taped together, and you can see why I went with tape, because even with it being taped up, it does still go a little parallelogrammy. With the string that would have been even harder to get in place, but I'm going to reinforce the corners now, I think, with string, and hopefully that will take a little bit of the flex out. See, this is part of the reason that I wanted to do this just with one piece of string. Partially because with the tape on it there, it's not quite the look I was going for, but also because this small, tiny little piece of string, where am I supposed to tie that? If it was all one long bit, I don't think I'd have to bother as much. Okay, let's give that a little test. It's perhaps 5% sturdier, but it looks a little nicer, so that's fine. I don't think it was a waste of time. That's what I'm going to tell myself anyway. The next stage then, let's poke some holes in the shirt and start tying it on. I'm going to have to trim that even further. I think it's still not very oversized. Well, the frame's not very oversized, and I do want it to be a bit oversized for the effect that I'm trying to go for, so we're going to have to trim it down again. I don't think I can really cut much more off of that, so however it fits now is just, it's going to have to do. Well, it's not bad, to be honest with you, it's not bad. There's a visible gap all the way around the edge, which I don't think you'll be able to see because the shirt is black and the table is black. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's give that a go. I did promise myself I was not going to bring out a tape measure for this project, but I am considering it, just to maybe try and get a somewhat even placing of holes, or to... No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're just going to cut some holes. Yeah, I think that's about right. We're going to start with the bottom, I think. Tie a string onto here, into the hole, loop, hole, blah 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 blah, until we get all the way to here. Then we're going to pull it so that it's somewhat flush with the bottom of the frame, and tie it off, and then hopefully when we tie on the top, we'll stretch the whole thing and hold it nicely in place. Yeah, I'll need quite a long bit of string, I think. Well, there we go, there's our answer of what to do with this little bit of string. We can use that to tie these two together. That's a happy coincidence. And look, isn't this thing starting to come together? I didn't actually look up anything on how to do this. I mean, obviously I didn't invent this thing here, but I just had the idea in my head and thought I'd give it a go. Going pretty well. Come on. That's not bad, is it? That's not bad at all. And I think the doing the top to bottom first has obviously pulled it quite thin, so I will have some negative space around the edge on the sides, which is exactly what I wanted. Another happy coincidence. Would that I could say that I planned that, but I absolutely did not. That's not bad, is it? Especially for a practice run, and it has actually turned out pretty much how I hoped it might. A couple of lessons to bring on to the next one, like make sure I leave this frame a bit bigger because some of this is not ideal. I would have liked the picture to remain mostly intact and all the warping be disguised in the black border around the edge, and some of these holes are quite close to the edge as well. That one there is nearly ripping through, but you know what? That's pretty good. I feel pretty good about that, and I think we can move on to the next one. It's on a stick. Good, isn't it? Not bad for some stuff that I was just going to chuck in the bin anyway. Hope you enjoyed that. If you want to make one of these, you probably didn't need to watch this video. It wasn't complicated, but now you know the way that I did it. That's all from me. Thank you for watching.